You asked me about the what
GP.
happens, the GPs, okay? And that's a very good question. We have a department of health and social
Services.
services, okay. And this has two sections. One of these is National Health Services, and the other one is Social Services, okay? And National Health Services are responsible for mental and physical health. Social services are responsible for social health, okay? Um, National Health Services have different sectors: primary care, secondary care, tertiary care. And recently, something called intermediate care. By recently, I mean in the last 20 years, or rehab centers, okay, or rehab facilities. Right. Now, social services, in fact, are responsible for vulnerable people, and they're responsible for supporting and safeguarding, okay, supporting and safeguarding. And generally, the vulnerable people are children and elderly and
Pregnant?
no, not
No.
really. No, children, elderly, and mentally or mentally impaired or physically impaired. Okay, mentally or physically impaired. Uh, okay. Um, so basically, if a person, if an elderly person is going to be sent home, or if a patient, any patient, is going to be sent home, uh, if they cannot cope, you need to make a referral to social services. Social services do not work for us; they actually work with us. We are just under one department, okay? But we are two different parts. The only place that social services interacts or actually overlaps with national health services is in nursing homes. Okay, so usually the social services provide people after an assessment. So they make an assessment. They can provide a carer once a day, twice a day, once a week, once every 2 weeks, or whatever. And in LA, I think it is under your Medicare or something like that. Or yeah, it's LA
Yes.
Connect something. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Exactly. Medicare.
yes. Yeah, because
You know everything about US.
I translated something for them.
Okay.
I translated for Farsi to Farsi.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was.
exactly. In
Yeah.
California, Medicare and Medical.
Yes,
Yes,
and
exactly.
yeah, LA Medical, and
Like Medicare.
yeah, before that it was LA Connect, and
Oh, I didn't know.
2 years ago, yes,
Okay.
last year it changed. Okay, uh, right. So the carer, they provide carers, and then after that, they're actually assisted living. So or assisted accommodation, warden assisted, or then we have care homes, and then we have nursing homes. And care homes, just carers, nursing homes have nurses. That's the only place that is there's an overlap, okay? Because there are nurses for people who have medical needs. And some people who work with all of these are the occupational therapists. Uh, so the occupational therapists, they actually make assessments. in all of these. So, for example, a patient wants to go from secondary care, wants to go home. They make an assessment, they look at the home, and they say, well, he is not fit for discharge.
Yes.
It's meaning either the ability is not enough or the home situation is not appropriate.
Yes.
And the same occupational therapist can go and do a home visit and look at
Mhm.
risk factors for falls. And they say, okay, we need handles, we need a bathroom where a wheelchair can go inside and things like that. Okay, right.
Yes.
Uh, I mean, in the British system, everybody has a primary care physician. Okay,
Yes. In the
it
US,
means
it's the same.
okay. So we have a GP. In your case, you call it a family practitioner,
Yeah.
and then um, basically the GP is responsible for this patient's health.
Hmm.
The patient cannot go to see any doctor without the GP's permission, unless it is
Yeah.
an emergency. So
Hmm.
in an emergency, they can, so during the day, during working hours, the urgent centers do not accept patients. They say, well, you need to go and see your doctor.
Hmm.
Unless there is an emergency or urgency, for example, you are in a different town, you cannot see your own doctor. They can admit you, they can see you, but they will send a report to your GP.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
And right. So whenever the patient wants to go elective, that means GP needs to know.
Hmm.
Um, non-urgent means GP.
Hmm.
Urgent care or emergency, yes, urgent care center or emergency room.
Hmm.
Secondary care, general hospitals, local hospitals, district hospitals, tertiary care, subspecialty hospitals, cancer centers.
Hmm.
Um, Intermediate care is for people who are not fit to go home for up to 2 weeks. And this is a nurse-led system, okay? And the reason is because they want to uh, save money, okay?
Hmm.
It's nurse-led, so basically, usually the admissions officer is a senior nurse, sometimes a doctor.
Oh,
Um,
really? Maybe.
yes,
Oh.
and basically what they do is they have I mean it's different, it depends on the budget, but some places have only optional GP or doctor visits.
Hmm.
Some people have regular ones, and some in some centers they have doctors doing rounds every day, but some other places no, the patients are well enough, so they only call for a doctor if necessary.
Hmm.
So it's different levels for themselves, basically, the different grades, the four different grades, and I don't know, it's quite complicated. In any case, that because keeping the patient in a secondary care facility is too expensive, that's why they want to send the patient out as soon as
Hmm.
possible. And an intermediate care center is a cheaper version.
Hmm.
They keep the patient there to rehabilitate. Mm, so it's actually not rehabilitation only, because in the rehab centers they have physiotherapists and some occupational therapists, maybe nutritionists. Okay, but in fact, it's a transition from uh, this place, and then at this point, the social services needs to make an assessment and see if this person is fit to go back home or needs to be placed in a placement in a facility, or if they need some support, basically.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. In this letter, I am a GP that I'm going to write a referral letter to the intermediate care.
And
Am I
you're not
right?
a GP. No, yeah,
No.
you are the mid-level or senior
Hmm.
surgeon. I think you're a
Okay.
mid-level surgeon.
Hmm.
You are an orthopedic surgeon. You've done the
Hmm.
surgery. You're sending this patient. You're discharging this patient. Occupational therapy has come and made an assessment. They say he's not fit to go home because he's because of his pain, his mobility is slow. He needs to go to a intermediate care to rehab center. So
Okay.
you're writing a transfer letter, and you have
The
to
GP.
clarify. To GP is another letter, but you're writing to the rehab center with clear orders and clear plan, because they're nurses, they cannot decide. Okay.
Okay.
And so you need to say his sutures need to be removed in 10 days.
Mhm.
He will be seen by Mr. Mosley in 2 weeks' time. He needs an occupational therapy home visit to assess the home situation. He needs a social services referral, which has been done, or which you need to do, or which the GP needs to do. Okay, so you need to clarify that. So basically, you need to say who does what. Okay, you say, please make sure that sutures are removed in 10 days. And well, I would appreciate, I mean, if you have alcohol and drug services, that would be very useful to have this. Some centers have, some centers don't.
I'm
Uh,
sorry. Now I'm a little confused. The officer, administration officer in this case, it's a nurse in the rehab.
usually a senior nurse, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
If I want to if the case of the is the discharge of a patient to a GP, they said the doctor does something, and this is a discharge letter.
Okay. Yes, the discharge
Okay.
letter goes to the GP, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, an admissions officer. Well, if it was a doctor, they would write a doctor. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh.
Uh, okay. So basically, sleep apnea is not relevant to the rehab center. Okay.
Mm.
But what is relevant is that I think he was a veteran, and
Yes.
so they have some specific budget or specific centers. The fact is that he smokes a lot, he drinks a lot, he lives alone in a caravan,
Mhm.
he cooks in the garden, his bathroom is in the garden, okay, and he has had significant pain that
Mhm.
didn't respond to morphine, okay, and he has PTSD. He has a big list of medications, and basically he's slow to mobilize. So, um, and that's why we're sending him to the rehab center, and we think that it's really not a good idea to send him to that caravan again. Okay,
Mhm.
so probably the social services needs to come in and make an assessment. Basically, this person is self-neglecting, and that's what the social services do. Some people who is mentally ill, or he's self-neglecting basically, so they need to do something for him. Okay, so that was the reason I gave you this case, because
Yes. Yes.
would you like to see a, a sample
Yes, sure, sure.
for Mr. McDonald? Was it McDonald? Yeah, Julian McDonald sample. Mm.
May I have these samples?
Oh yeah, I sent them to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Okay. Mr. Julian McDonald. Okay, okay. Uh, Let me do the whole thing. Okay, okay. Right. So, yeah, this is right. Writing to refer Mr. McDonald,
you.
and
Dear colleague is correct.
yeah,
Is it
we
correct?
could say that. Yeah, that is one of the ways.
Mhm.
Uh, we usually say dear sir or madam. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. So, Yeah, basically, let's see what is done here. I'm writing to refer Mr. MacDonald, a 68-year-old gentleman who's being transferred today following left total knee replacement surgery for further management and rehabilitation. And 4 days ago, Mr. MacDonald underwent a total knee joint replacement with resulting significant post-op pain despite treatment with morphine and ketamine infusion. He was agitated and slow to mobilize. His analgesics were insufficient. Although the operation was uncomplicated, mild agitation and insomnia were noted. There was no sign of alcohol withdrawal. Mr. MacDonald lives alone in a caravan, drinks 6 to 10 standard drinks, and smokes 1 pack of cigarettes daily. His BMI is 35, and he has a history of osteoarthritis, gout, PTSD, and hypercholesterolemia. He's allergic to penicillin. His medications include, we have to write all of them
With doses.
with doses because
Okay.
because they're nurses. They have to know they will have a drug
Yeah.
chart and they have to prescribe it based on that.
Okay.
His sutures should be removed on the 10th post-op day. An appointment has been scheduled with his surgeon, Mr. Mosley, for 6 weeks. Actually, it's better to write the date. Physiotherapy to help with mobility
Mhm.
should be considered, as should occupational therapy home visit to assess his home situation. A social services assessment should be requested, and counseling regarding smoking and alcohol intake should be encouraged if this is offered in your facility. Thank you in advance for your help in management and rehabilitation of Mr. MacDonald. Should you have any queries, please do not hesitate to contact me. Okay, so and if you look at this, these are the things that should be done. Okay, it says this should be removed. This has been scheduled. Okay, and it's saying physiotherapy should be considered. Okay, and occupational therapy should
It's
be.
yeah.
Okay,
It's like ordering something.
yes. And if it's something that must be done, they actually write
Mhm.
it. They say it must be done. So also he's actually being sent on oxycodone. Okay, you cannot send this patient home on oxycodone. Somebody who's drinking and smoking this much, he hasn't actually responded to morphine and ketamine infusion. Now you're giving him ketamine and you say go home. No,
No, never.
sorry, or oxycodone. Okay, so uh, right.